In every family, there are stories whispered in the dark, wounds that fester beneath polite smiles and shared meals. For Maya Alvarez, those shadows loomed largest during gatherings like this one, where the weight of unspoken resentments pressed down like an invisible fog, urging her toward a confrontation she both craved and dreaded. As the clatter of silverware began to echo through the house, the dining room hummed with the low clatter of forks against plates, but the real weight hung in the silences between bites. Maya sat at the long oak table, her fork tracing circles in her rice, eyes darting from her father Daniel's rigid jaw to her sister Lena's defiant slouch. The extended family, uncles, aunts, cousins, filled the chairs like shadows, their laughter forced, skirting the edges of old wounds. No one mentioned the empty seat where Abuela once presided, or the way arguments used to erupt like summer storms before dissolving into nothing. Maya's chest tightened, anxiety coiling like smoke. Another dinner, another ritual of restraint. She glanced at her niece, little Sophia, 7 years old, perched on a booster seat beside her mother. The girl was mimicking Aunt Rosa's tight-lipped smile, her small mouth pressed into a line as if practicing for some unspoken oath. Sophia's eyes flicked to the adults, absorbing the rule. See no pain, speak no truth. It hit Maya like a gut punch, the cycle repeating, innocent and inevitable. Her gaze drifted to the sideboard, where the dusty family photo album sat forgotten, its leather cover cracked, pages yellowed with untold stories. She hadn't touched it in years, but now it pulled at her, a relic begging to be opened. What if she dusted it off? What if she started recording these hidden layers? Not just photos, but voices, the real ones. Daniel cleared his throat, breaking the pause. Pass the salt, he said, voice flat as the tablecloth. Lena rolled her eyes, but complied, her elbow brushing Maya's in a spark of shared frustration. The distance between them all felt sharper tonight, a chasm widening with every unspoken word. Maya's heart raced, palms damp. She could stay quiet, let the evening bleed into numbness, like always. Or she swallowed, the choice crystallizing. Tomorrow, she'd begin. A notebook, a phone recorder, whatever it took to capture the testimonies, to peel back the silence before it swallowed Sophia too. The family could hold together, couldn't it? Without this veil of nothing. As plates cleared, Maya met Lena's eyes across the table, a flicker of something new passing between them. The air thickened, not with dread, but possibility. The next morning, Maya's fingers trembled as she wiped dust from the cracked leather spine of the family photo album, hidden away on the top shelf of the attic like a guilty secret. The air in the multi-generational home hung heavy, the kind of stillness that pressed against your chest, broken only by the distant hum of her niece practicing piano downstairs, halting notes that echoed the family's unspoken rhythms. She sank onto the worn floorboards, the album splayed open on her lap, its pages yellowed and brittle, each photograph a frozen sentinel guarding the silence. The first image hit like a shadow, a black and white snapshot of her grandparents at a wedding, smiles rigid, eyes averted as if the camera had caught them mid-whisper. Maya remembered the stories that weren't told. Grandma's migration scars, buried under platters of tamales, served with averted gazes. Anxiety coiled in her gut, sharp and familiar, whispering that opening this book was like cracking a dam. What if the flood washed everything away? Her breath quickened. She could almost hear the enforcer's voice, her father Daniel's, cutting off questions at family dinners. Enough, we move on. The photos didn't just show faces, They assaulted her with absence, the blank spaces where words should have been, where laughter hid tears from the old country wars that no one named. She turned the page, pulse racing. There was Lena, her sister, as a defiant toddler, arms crossed in a holiday portrait. The whole family posed around the table like statues in a museum of restraint. Maya traced the edge of the image, feeling the weight of that dinner last week. The way Lena's rebellion sparked under the chandelier's dim glow. Her snide remark about our perfect little secrets met with Daniel's stoic glare. The silence between them thickened in her mind, a chasm widening with every unshared hurt. Why did it always end like this? Her hand shook harder now, anxiety blooming into a storm, threatening to slam the album shut and retreat to numbness, just like always. But then, a flicker. Her own face in a faded school photo, eyes wide with the same buried storm. The dust motes danced in the slanted afternoon light, filtering through the attic window, illuminating the album's forgotten corners. Maya paused, heart pounding. These weren't just pictures. They were testimonies waiting to be voiced. Layers of pain she'd numbed for too long. The fear clawed. Exposing this would shatter the fragile peace, prove she was the wrecker. But beneath it, a resolve stirred, hot and insistent. She couldn't keep mimicking the silence. It was killing them all, generation after generation. Grabbing her phone from her pocket, she snapped a photo of the page, the click echoing like a vow. Document it. Speak it. For Lena, for Daniel, for the girl she'd been. How could memory's quiet language bridge to real talk if she stayed mute herself? The album lay open, its dust settled, but not gone, as Maya's anxiety ebbed into a determined fire. She wouldn't close it yet, not this time. A few days later, the light in Dr. Priya's therapy room poured through floor-to-ceiling windows like a hesitant invitation, bathing the space in a warm, golden haze that softened the edges of everything. The worn armchair where Maya sat, knees drawn up, the notepad on the low table between them, even the faint dust motes dancing in the air. It felt too open, this room, too exposed compared to the dim corners of home where silence had always been her armor. Maya, Dr. Priya said, her voice steady as a gentle current, leaning forward slightly in her chair. We've talked about the patterns, the way conversations skirt the edges, like walking around a crack in the floor. What if we name them, give them shape? The enforcer's silence, the rebel's deflection. Starting there might help you map a way through. Maya's fingers tightened on the armrest, her mind racing. Name them? Out loud? That's like handing over the keys to the house I built to keep everything locked. Anxiety coiled in her chest, sharp and familiar, whispering that one wrong word could shatter the fragile peace with Daniel and Lena. What if naming the silence made it roar? What if it proved she was the one cracking the foundation? I don't know, Maya murmured, eyes flicking to the window where sunlight glinted off a distant tree. Her throat felt dry, the words sticking like old glue. If I say it, we're all pretending the past didn't scar us. What then? They'll pull away. Or worse, turn on me. Dr. Priya nodded, unhurried, her dark eyes holding space without judgment. That's the fear talking, and it's valid. But silence isn't protection. It's a cage we inherit. Let's try a framework. Think of it as documenting, not accusing, but witnessing. Record your own story first, in a journal or voice note. Then, when you're ready, invite one truth at a time. I felt this when, instead of, you did this. It's a bridge, Maya, for safe expression. Build sincerity without demolition. Maya exhaled, the knot in her chest loosening just a fraction. Document, like the family album, dusty and full of ghosts, but opened. A glimmer of hope flickered, faint as the light shifting across the room, warming her skin. For the first time, voicing her needs didn't feel like betrayal. It felt like a tool, sharp enough to cut through the fog. She could picture it, telling Lena, "I need you to hear me, not fight back." Or Daniel, "I'm scared, but I want us closer." Through this, maybe truth could ask for support, not demand it. The session clock ticked softly, the light deepening as afternoon waned. Maya leaned back, the room's glow wrapping around her like possibility. But the question lingered, unspoken in the air. Could she explore these emotions without toppling the family's fragile safety? Inspired by the session, Maya returned home and prepared for the next step. The small room in their childhood home smelled of chamomile tea and dust, the kind that settled on forgotten shelves. Maya sat cross-legged on the worn rug, her new dictaphone clutched like a fragile talisman. Sleek, black, its red record light blinking like a hesitant heartbeat. She'd bought it that morning, on impulse, after Dr. Priya's words echoed, "Capture the stories before they slip away." Now, with Lena perched on the edge of the bed, arms crossed tight over her chest, Maya felt the air thicken with unspoken barbs. "Lynn, just talk," Maya urged, her voice a whisper laced with plea. The device hummed softly between them. A bridge or a barrier? She couldn't tell. Anxiety clawed at her gut. What if this shattered everything? Lena's eyes, sharp and shadowed, flicked to the dictaphone. "Why the hell do you need to record this? So you can play it back at Dad? Wave it like some gotcha moment? I'm not your ammo, Maya." Lena's words stung, raw as an open wound. Maya leaned forward, the rug's fibers pressing into her knees. "No, God, no. This is for us, for me to remember I'm not crazy, that it's not just in my head." Her hands trembled, but she hit record anyway, the light steadying her resolve. The room fell into that uneasy stillness they both knew too well, the kind where silences screamed louder than shouts. Lena exhaled sharply, her defiance cracking like thin ice. She uncrossed her arms, fingers twisting the hem of her shirt. "Fine. You want the truth. It hurts, Maya. Every damn family dinner. Every time Dad shuts us down with that look, like we're ghosts he can't afford to see. I rebel, because if I don't, I'll choke on it. The control, the way he pretends nothing's broken, it makes me want to scream, or run, or both." Her voice wavered, eyes glistening, not with tears, but with the fury of held-back storms. "And you? You just numb out. But I see it in you too. That same rage bubbling under." Maya's breath caught, the dictaphone capturing every hitch, every pause. Lena's pain mirrored her own, the resentment toward their father's iron grip, the generational hush that smothered them both. It wasn't personal, it was the pattern, woven deep. For the first time, Maya didn't feel alone in the echo. "I get it," she said softly, reaching out. Lena hesitated, then took her hand, a tentative squeeze that bridged the gap. The anger ebbed, giving way to something warmer, a shared nod in the dim light. Sisters, allies, against the quiet. As the recording clicked off, the dictaphone warm in Maya's palm, the question lingered unspoken. Could she honor Lena's voice, keep it safe from becoming another weapon in their fractured home? Emboldened but nervous, Maya sought out Daniel later that afternoon. The late afternoon light slanted through the living room blinds, casting long shadows across the worn Persian rug. Maya stood in the doorway, her heart a steady drumbeat of resolve. She'd rehearsed this a dozen times in her mind. Words measured, gentle, like testing thin ice. Daniel sat in his armchair, the one with the faded leather arms, newspaper folded neatly on his lap. Across from him, the empty chair waited, its cushion undisturbed, a silent witness to all the conversations that never happened. "Dad," she said, stepping forward, voice soft but deliberate, "can we talk about what happened when we were kids, the way things got buried? I think it's still hurting us." He didn't look up right away. His fingers tightened on the paper's edge, knuckles whitening like old bone. In her mind, Maya pictured the walls rising, thick, unyielding, built from years of just get on with it. She wanted to bridge them, to say, "We're stronger if we face it together." But doubt flickered. What if this shatters everything? Daniel cleared his throat, eyes finally meeting hers. Steel gray, unblinking. "Maya, enough. We've been through worse. Families like ours, we build resilience, not by digging up graves." His voice was even, a hammer striking anvil, each word forging distance. "Poking at old wounds, that's weakness. It breaks what we've held together." The air thickened, heavy with the unsaid. Maya's intention curdled into something sharper, alienation creeping in like fog. She glanced at the empty chair, its vacancy mocking her. Sit there? Pour it out to nothing? She imagined her younger self in it, wide-eyed, silenced by the same decree. The resentment she'd numbed for so long surged, hot and clarifying. He wasn't just protecting the family. He was protecting his own fear. The enforcer's mask cracking just enough to show the man beneath. "I get that," she pressed, not backing down, though her chest ached. "But ignoring it isn't strength. It's a chain." Her thoughts raced. He's shutting the door again. Record this. Note the flinch in his jaw. Therapy said patterns repeat until named. The tension coiled between them. External in his rigid posture. Internal in her fracturing hope. Could she demand honesty from a man whose empire was silence? Daniel rose slowly, folding the paper with finality. "Drop it, Maya. For all our sakes." He walked out, leaving the room echoing with his footsteps. She sank into the empty chair, the leather cool against her skin. Disappointment stung, but it fueled her, not retreating. Lena next. Testimonies. Proof we're not alone. The seed of fracture widened, a vein pulsing toward openness. In the quiet, the question hung. Can you ask for honesty from someone who builds walls of silence? To process the rejection, Maya returned to therapy, this time with Lena. The light-filled therapy room hummed with afternoon sun, its wide windows framing the garden like a promise of openness. Dr. Priya Desai sat in her worn armchair, her presence a steady anchor amid the circle of mismatched cushions. Maya perched on the edge of hers, fingers twisting the hem of her sweater, eyes flicking to Lena across the way. Her sister slouched, arms crossed, jaw set in that familiar defiance, a shield Maya knew too well. "Let's try the exchange," Dr. Desai said softly, her voice cutting the thick air. "Maya, share a memory. Lena, just listen. No defenses, no fixes." Maya swallowed, the words lodging like stones. She'd always been the fixer, the one who smoothed edges to keep the peace. But here, in this sun-warmed space that felt both exposing and safe, she couldn't retreat. "When Dad shut down after Mom's accident," she started, voice barely above a whisper, "I remember sitting at the table, wanting to scream about how scared I was. But I didn't. I just ate my food. And you, Lena, you were so little, but you kicked the chair until it broke. I envied that fire." Lena's eyes narrowed, wariness etching lines around her mouth. She leaned forward, ready to snap back, to accuse Maya of playing the saint. The room held its breath. The unspoken rule pulsed between them. No accusations, or the fragile thread snapped. Dr. Desai nodded subtly, her pen pausing on her notepad, observing the flicker of resistance in Lena's gaze. Lena exhaled sharply, uncrossing her arms. "I wasn't fire," she said, voice raw. "I was furious because no one talked. You acted like everything was fine, Maya." Cleaning up, smiling, it made me feel alone in it. Not an attack, just truth, hanging there, vulnerable. Maya's chest tightened, the old guilt surging. She wanted to apologize, to backpedal into silence, preserve the brittle harmony, but the light slanted across the floor, warming her hands, reminding her this room was built for this. She met Lena's eyes, really met them, seeing the mirror of her own buried ache. "I was scared," Maya admitted, softer now. "Scared if I spoke, it'd all shatter. But hiding, it shattered us anyway." Lena nodded, slow, the tension easing like a knot untying. A tentative warmth bloomed between them, shared pain bridging the gap. Dr. Desai smiled faintly. "See that? Listening without armor. It's how we mend." As the session wound down, Maya felt the shift. Not a flood, but a trickle of trust. Yet in the quiet, the question lingered. Could their family home, with its shadowed corners and ironclad silences, hold this light without crumbling? That evening's confrontation escalated the tensions further. The front door clicked shut behind her, sealing the echo of raised voices in the living room. Maya stood in the empty hallway, the air thick with the scent of cooling arroz con pollo from dinner. Now, just another casualty of the evening's fallout. Her father's stoic glare lingered in her mind. Daniel's words, like bricks, rebuilding the wall she tried to chip away. Why drag this up now? We're fine. And Lena, her sister, had stormed off mid-sentence, eyes flashing with that familiar defiance, masking the same hurt Maya felt twisting in her gut. She leaned against the faded wallpaper, the hallway stretching empty before her, a void mirroring the space between them. Just hours ago, resolve had burned in her chest. After Dr. Priya's session, she'd vowed to push, to name the unspoken scars from their mother's absence, the generational hush that choked them all. But now, doubt crept in like shadows from the unlit corners. What if this was it? The fight ebbing out of her, leaving her hollow. Why keep clawing at wounds when silence had always kept the family intact? She could slip back into it, numb and safe, the enforcer's daughter once more. No more betrayals, no more feeling like the villain unraveling the only thread holding them together. Her hand trembled as she pulled out her phone, thumb hovering over Lena's name. The screen's glow cut through the dimness, illuminating the peeling paint on the walls, layers of history they'd never touched. Fatigue weighed her down, a victim's ache in her bones, but beneath it, a flicker she couldn't retreat. Not fully. What if a circle, like Dr. Priya suggested, a simple ring of chairs, no accusations, just listening, could bridge this? She typed a message to Lena. "I know it hurts. Meet me tomorrow. We try something new." Sending it felt like exhaling into the emptiness. The hallway seemed to hold its breath, waiting. Could she stop fighting without becoming the traitor she'd always feared? The following afternoon, Maya and Lena confronted the remnants of the chaos together. The kitchen floor gleamed under the late afternoon sun, filtering through lace curtains, but the air felt thick, like breath held too long. Maya knelt first, her fingers trembling as she scooped up a jagged shard of the old porcelain teacup, part of Abuela's set. shattered during last night's argument when Daniel's slammed fist had sent it flying. The pieces scattered like unspoken accusations, white edges catching the light, revealing hairline cracks that predated the break. Lena hovered nearby, arms crossed tight over her chest, her dark eyes flicking between the fragments and Maya's face. "Why bother?" she muttered, voice edged with that familiar defiance. "This thing's been glued and re-glued a dozen times. Pretending it's whole again? That's just us, Maya, sticking to traditions that cut deeper each time." Maya's heart clenched, a reflexive shield snapping up. She wanted to snap back, to bury the mess under the sink and pretend the crash never happened, like they always did. Protect the peace, even if it meant swallowing the shards herself. "It's not pretending," she said, her words clipped, protective. "It's holding on. If we toss it, what does that say about us? About family?" Her voice wavered, the fear of unraveling everything coiling in her gut. What if fixing this meant admitting how broken they all were? What if the glue never held? Lena dropped to her knees then, snatching a saucer piece, her rebellion softening into something raw. "Holding on? That's the problem. We keep piecing it like this." She mimed, forcing edges together, the porcelain clinking sharply. "But the cracks show. Everyone sees them. Dad sees them. And we just smile through tea, like nothing's wrong." Her eyes met Maya's, fierce but pleading, the mirror of her own buried ache. "I'm tired of hiding the breaks. If we're going to invite the whole family for this listening thing you keep talking about, we can't smooth it over. We have to show the damage. Let them see how the traditions we cling to are the ones cracking us." Maya's breath hitched, the self-guarding walls cracking too. Lena was right. The set wasn't just china. It was their rituals, the Sunday teas laced with silence, the stories left unsaid. Gathering the shards felt like collecting their own fractured past, each piece a memory of slammed doors and averted eyes. But throwing it away, that was surrender. Instead, a spark ignited, pushing past the fear. Determination flooded her, warm and unyielding. "Okay," she said, voice steadying as she cupped the pieces in her palms. "We glue it visible. Gold lines, like those Japanese things Dr. Desai mentioned. Kintsugi. The breaks become the beauty." She straightened, meeting Lena's gaze with a nod that sealed their pact. "And we invite them all, everyone. No more hiding. I'll make the calls, set the circle, but we do it together." Lena's shoulders eased, a tentative smile breaking through. She reached out, their hands brushing over the porcelain, trust weaving between them like invisible thread. The shards lay between them, not whole, but acknowledged, ready to be mended, cracks and all. Could they truly rebuild like this, letting the fractures gleam? The question hung in the sun-dappled air, unanswered but alive. With the invitations sent, the family gathered soon after. The family circle huddled in the dim living room, shadows from the single lamp stretching like unspoken accusations across the faded rug. Maya sat at the center, her hands trembling as she clutched the new dictaphone. Small, unassuming, its red record light a defiant glow against the muted walls. She'd bought it weeks ago, a tool to capture truths too fragile for memory alone. Now, it lay between them like a gauntlet thrown. "I can't do this anymore," Maya said, her voice cracking the heavy air. Vulnerability flooded her chest, raw and exposed, as if peeling back layers of scar tissue. The silence. "It's killing us. Remember the dinner last month, when Abuela's stories stopped short and we all just nodded? I was there, pretending too, but that night, after overhearing little Sophia mimicking our quiet. Fingers to lips, eyes wide. I broke. This is my story. Our story. She pressed play. Lena's voice spilled out first, recorded in the kitchen under the hum of the fridge. It hurts, Maya. The way Dad clamps down. Like if we speak, it'll shatter everything. But it's already shattered. Lena, beside her now, nodded fiercely, her defiance softening into something tender. But as Maya's breath steadied, the question lingered. Were they truly ready to respond? Or would old shadows pull them back? The circle held, waiting. As the revelations deepened, the circle continued into deeper honesty. The family circle huddled in the dim living room, shadows pooling like unspoken regrets on the worn rug. An empty chair sat at the edge, a silent sentinel between Daniel and Maya. Once a placeholder for the conversations they'd never had, now beckoning them forward. Maya, her voice steady as a director's cue, leaned in. Dad, what are you carrying that's kept us all so quiet? Daniel's hands trembled on his knees, knuckles white against the fabric of his chair. His stoic mask cracked, eyes fixed on the floor. It's this fear, he admitted, words scraping out like gravel. Inherited from my father, his father before. Control the chaos, or it swallows you. I thought silence protected us, kept the family whole, but it's been choking us. His gaze lifted, raw, meeting Maya's. Acknowledgement hung heavy, a collective inhale as the room's tension coiled tighter. Lena shifted beside him, arms crossed, her defiance flickering like a storm cloud. Irritation etched her face, jaw tight, brows furrowed, as if his words pried open wounds she'd bandaged with rebellion. Protected. It just left us screaming inside, she snapped, voice edged with years of bottled fury. But then her shoulders sagged, the fight ebbing. She glanced at the empty chair, as if it mocked her isolation. Fine, I'll listen. Really listen. No more walls. Relief seeped in, slow as dawn, light through the curtains, softening the air. Maya's heart pounded, but she guided them now, her leadership blooming in the vulnerability. Then, let's make it real. A pact. Honesty without weapons. We speak truth, but with care. No destroying what we're building. Nods rippled around the circle. Daniel's hesitant, Lena's resolute. They sketched it out on a scrap of paper. Promises to hear, to hold space, to choose repair over rupture. As they clasped hands, the empty chair seemed less void, more invitation. But in the quiet that followed, a whisper lingered. Could they truly agree on this truth without shattering the fragile bonds they'd just begun to mend?